Good evening, everyone. You're listening to Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this is your Red Pill News. Just want to start off the video broadcast today with fine hello to all of my viewers and listeners. Hope that everyone had a great weekend. Hope you had an opportunity to tune into the live streams that we did over on Friday and Saturday. Had some great guests, including Matt Couch and some returning guests talking about the situation in Colorado with Children's Protective Services, as well as my good friend Thomas from True Reporting. Now, the first thing I'd like to say is I'd like to start off by announcing that this Saturday, July 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, my good friend and fellow researcher Methods is going to be joining us on the program for his debut interview. I just want to make sure everybody knows this is just a one-off. Hopefully he'll be back again in the future, but I don't want to make anybody think that he's going to be here on a regular basis. He's still doing his thing with the research on Twitter and bringing us the news and the truth, and I wanted to start off with a tweet from him today. This is some video footage of Stephen Miller, and we can watch him right here shutting down Chris Wallace when he tries to honeypot him on the word garbage. So let's go ahead and take a listen.
It's literally impossible to read the quote that way. What she's saying is there's a debate in the Democratic Party in which some people want to improve, in her mind, 10% from garbage, which maybe we'll say is Obamacare, where she wants to do, say, Medicare for all, which she views as being, I guess, 70% better than garbage. Her point is, we're starting at garbage. Some want to go a little better than garbage.
I understand
and she wants to go way better than garbage.
That, but she's talking about policy.
No, she's saying her starting point.
She's not talking about the country and the people.
She's saying
is garbage such a horrible word?
She's saying that America, in her view, right now, is garbage. But more.
Well, no. Then I want to put something up on that regard, because I want to put up a tweet from Donald Trump from 2014. He wrote, "The United States under President Obama has truly become the gang that couldn't shoot straight. Everything he touches turns to garbage." Stephen, that isn't AOC. That's Donald J. Trump.
Throughout this interview, Chris, you're continuing to conflate Donald Trump's criticisms of President Obama versus AOC's deep and systemic criticisms of the country itself. And so let me just cut to the heart of the issue. These four congresswomen detest America as it exists, as it is currently constructed. They want to tear down the structure of our country. They want it to be a socialist, open borders country. If you, as Donald Trump says, want to destroy America with open borders, you cannot say you love your country. If you attack border agents the way that Ocasio-Cortez has, it means you have a deep-seated hatred of the nation as it exists. That's why you want to erase its borders, fundamentally transform the country, and in the process, it doesn't matter if American citizens lose their jobs, lose their homes, lose their livelihoods, lose their health coverage, and lose their very lives. There's a gigantic, enormous distinction between Donald Trump saying, I'm going to get on the world stage and put America first in every single thing we do, versus the view that says America should never come first and American citizens should never come first, which is their view, and that's what we're going to take to the ballot box.
Stephen, thank you.
Owned. Chris just got owned. He is just as bad as the Democrats, and for all I know, he could be a Democrat in Republican clothing here, working over at Fox. He's certainly somebody who has always had negative things to say about President Trump. He's always looking for an opportunity to bash him and to twist his words, and he tried to do it right here with Stephen Miller, conflating these two issues. Stephen is dead on. The squad hates America. They want to change America. President Trump wants to make America the best it can be and be there to lead for the citizens of the country as it exists today. What is garbage are the policies of the failed administrations that preceded him, and this is what we are trying to overcome. The squad is a completely different issue. They want to destroy America as it exists and bring up a new socialist paradise in its place. Now, next, we also have several new posts from our favorite Anon right here. Looks like we've got a post, and it includes an embed of Comey's status from today. Let's take a look at Comey's status. What does that say? This week, an American patriot takes center stage. He doesn't want attention, has principles and follows them, and always tells the truth. What an opportunity for young people to be inspired. What a great opportunity for both parties in Congress to follow his great example. Let's take a look at what our favorite Anon has to say. If AG Barr has access to all classified material, how does Mueller navigate? If Mueller provides false and or misleading information, will AG Barr be forced to declass all documentation to ensure full public awareness of the truth? If Mueller refers or defers to the original report, but Democrats and fake news push a false narrative, knowing majority of the public did not watch the actual hearing, will AG Barr be forced to declass all documentation to ensure full public awareness of the truth? Be ready, Mueller. Be ready, James Comey. Be ready, traitors one and all. Thank you for playing. FISA goes both ways. Obviously, this is in regards to the Mueller testimony, which is scheduled to be coming up this week. I cannot wait to see that. And we have one more here. This is a post from our favorite Anon with a status from Maggie Haberman, the infamous reporter from the New York Times. What does Maggie have to say? He wasn't seeking to kill a mob boss. He was trying to help Trump, his lawyer says. The New York Times. Wow. This has to do with that young man who murdered the Gambino mob boss in front of his home in the early hours of the morning. What does our favorite Anon have to say about it? He says, every single dirty tactic being deployed to stop the growth of this movement. Ask yourself a very simple cue. Why? Why are the biggest media companies in the world, etc., 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 all for a LARP, right, guys? Why are the biggest media companies in the world seeking to discredit our movement, to discredit the eponymous anonymous author known as QAnon? Ask yourself a really deep question in regards to that. Why would they do that? Because they're afraid. All right, our first story today is the revelation of Jeffrey Epstein's Little Black Book. We have covered this here on the show before, but I realize that we may have many new eyes on the program and people who have not had the opportunity to see this yet. So we are going to go through this article from the Gateway Pundit, and then we're going to take a look at the Little Black Book itself. So it's right here, 93 pages of contacts, including top politicians and Hollywood elite. Now, a federal judge on Thursday denied bail to the wealthy trafficker Jeffrey Epstein, who sought to be released from custody on a $100 million bond. His lawyers asked that he be kept in his $77 million mansion with an electronic trafficking device as he awaited his trial. Now, Epstein was arrested 2 weeks ago and was indicted on one single count of conspiring to commit sex trafficking. The case against the multimillionaire could possibly expand to involve several top politicians and Hollywood elites. Epstein's former house manager tried to sell his Little Black Book of contacts years ago, and Gawker got a copy, and they published the 93 pages of contacts back in 2015. Now, the book contains entries for Alec Baldwin, Ray Fiennes, Griffin Dunn, New York Post gossip columnist Richard Johnson, Ted Kennedy, David Koch, filmmaker Andrew Jarecki, and all manner of other people you might expect a billionaire to know. The list also includes billionaire Leslie Wexner, someone that we've been talking about a lot recently, former New Mexico Governor Bruce King, former New Mexico Governor and Democratic presidential hopeful Bill Richardson, Peter Soros, the nephew of George Soros, former Miss Sweden, and socialite New York City Dr. Eva Anderson Dubin. And according to an FBI affidavit, Rodriguez described that address book and the information contained within it as the Holy Grail or golden nugget to unraveling Epstein's sprawling child sex network, and that was reported by Gawker back then. Now, a copy of Epstein's contact list was posted on Scribd back in November of 2015, and that link right there only shows just a limited preview. So what we're going to do here is we're going to actually go to a full, however redacted version of that I found on Document Cloud. So let's take a look. All right, so here we are. Right here, you can see it's 92 pages. It includes many, many names. We're going to zoom in so you guys can see this here. It's all in alphabetical order. It includes many phone numbers for many, many powerful people. Now, the one thing I would like to mention is that just because a number is in here doesn't mean that a person is involved with trafficking or was doing, terrible things with Jeffrey Epstein. However, Alec Baldwin, who knows? But, other people, as we've talked about before, Donald Trump and several members of his family are in here, it is told. So let's go ahead and zoom to the T's and see if we can't verify that. But, as I said, Jeffrey Epstein is a powerful man, a billionaire. He hung out with many other rich and famous and powerful people. I would have no qualms about saying that there are several people in here that are definitely on the same level as Jeffrey Epstein, people who have done awful, awful things, crimes against children. But it's not necessarily all of them. Okay, so here we are at the T's. Let's see. Trump. There we go. Ivanka Trump is listed. Robert and Blaine Trump. And it looks like that's it. No Donald Trump. Okay, so I think that kind of squashes the mainstream media narrative that Trump and Epstein were friends. Obviously, Ivanka was a known Democrat and a New York City socialite, so I'm not too concerned that her information is in here. But Robert and Blaine Trump, don't know much about them. If you guys do, then go ahead and leave it in the comments below. And let's move on to the next article because it's a doozy. All right, you guys remember back in 2016, the presidential election, the most important presidential election of our time. There was that Google video that was leaked by Breitbart, and it showed them crying because the president was now Donald Trump, and they didn't know what they were going to do. And now it turns out that maybe they had another reason to cry because Hillary lost, because they actually funded CrowdStrike. CrowdStrike is the infamous cybersecurity company with the worst cybersecurity practices in the history of man. The ones who apparently were able to verify that the Russians hacked the DNC server, the server that the FBI and anybody else in the government was not allowed to see. But the day after the 2016 presidential election, the leadership team at Google was caught crying at a company-wide meeting with one exec saying, "We lost." Now that holds a lot more weight now in a different way, knowing that they funded CrowdStrike, because CrowdStrike was that company that claimed that Russia hacked the DNC. Now, the Gateway Pundit previously reported after the 2016 election on Breitbart.com's video showing Google execs crying like children after Hillary Clinton's loss. And from that article, a video recorded by Google shortly after the 2016 presidential election reveals an atmosphere of panic and dismay amongst the tech giant's leaderships, coupled with a determination to thwart both the Trump agenda and the broader populist movement emerging around the globe. This is a still shot from that video. You can tell this woman is crying. We now know more about why these execs may have been crying after the election, and that's because Google funded CrowdStrike. Back in July of 2015, Google invested $100 million into CrowdStrike, and that was through Google Capital, the 2-year-old growth equity arm of the search giant Google. They announced this back in 2015, so now they would be 6 years old, but it was their first cybersecurity investment, and that was back from the announcement there. The fund has pumped $100 million into cybersecurity firm CrowdStrike. It was joined by cloud computing company Rackspace, which is a customer, and the firm's existing investors Excel and Warburg Pincus. The new infusion represents a Series C round for the Irvine, California-based company, bringing its total funding raised to date to $156 million, so Google providing 2/3 of their total funding, and CrowdStrike admitted this on their website. At the same time, the media reported in February of 2015, 4 months before Trump even announced he was running for POTUS, the intel community was advising Congress and the White House on the issue and extent of Russian hacking and blaming Russian hacking, going as far back as 2012, on Ukrainian aggression. Now, this information was no doubt based on claims made by CrowdStrike. A year later, the only firm that investigated the DNC emails that were released by WikiLeaks was CrowdStrike. How was CrowdStrike able to determine back in 2015 that the Russians hacked Congress because they were upset about Ukraine, and then a year later claim Russians hacked the DNC because they didn't like Hillary Clinton? Well, we reported on May 11th of 2019 that Roger Stone and his legal team are requesting that report from CrowdStrike, the firm connected with the deep state and heavy ties to Google as well. Now, here is a tweet from Semi-Casual Observer talking about the case in which Roger Stone is trying to get that report. Let's go ahead and take a look at that tweet real quick. All right, new filing in United States versus Stone. Motion to compel unredacted versions of the CrowdStrike report. This should be very interesting. I really hope that Roger Stone does get this because it's going to show us a lot of really interesting information. Now, their position is that if the Mueller team and the FBI did not inspect the DNC server, then how could they know that the server was hacked? Well, this logical argument makes a lot of sense. And here we have a tweet from Praying Medic saying that the chain of custody of evidence is kind of a big deal. If the FBI didn't have custody of the server, and if they've never examined it, they cannot verify what happened to the data on it. And here is another embedded tweet from Zoe Tillman. Here's Roger Stone's motion to suppress the evidence in the case. That is what we just looked at. The Mueller team is fighting back against the Stone team, and they're arguing that it's not necessary to see the documents that support that Russia hacked the DNC, and that is totally preposterous. If it is so obvious that the Russian government orchestrated the email disclosures of the 2016 campaign, why are the Mueller leftovers in the Roger Stone case asking the court to relieve them of that very obligation, saying they should not be required to prove that very fact? That is a pretty great question. Now, we've been reporting for months that the entire Russia collusion delusion is a sham. To date, there has been no evidence reported that proves the DNC was hacked by the Russians, and no reports to date show that the DNC server was inspected by the Mueller team and the FBI. Since this is the case, there is no way the Mueller team can claim the server was hacked. More people believe that the DNC had emails stolen by an insider, and this is how the DNC emails reached the people at WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks team has stated numerous times that Russians did not provide them with the DNC emails. And since there's no proof for the emails being hacked, the reports that Russians were involved in the collusion delusion simply evaporate. This would and should destroy the entire Russia sham make-believe case, and Gateway Pundit's reporting has been confirmed by other people in the intelligence industry. Here is a tweet from Tony Schaefer, T-Spooky, former clown agent. He says that after speaking with my FBI sources and a New York Times reporter with direct knowledge of the handling of the DNC server, it's true. There was no direct examination or physically custody of the DNC server. An image of the server was examined only. And he also links to a story by Gateway Pundit on this very thing. Now, we reported that former NSA employee and whistleblower Bill Binney has reviewed the information provided online by WikiLeaks, and it shows that the data coming from the DNC was not hacked, but rather copied to a disk or flash drive. And that information first came from Adam Carter, the forensicator, who showed that the transfer speed with which the documents were brought over could not be done on a wireless or a wired line. It must have only been done with a USB flash drive. It was just too fast. Now, Bill Binney said the problem with the Mueller report and the Rosenstein indictment is it's all based on lies. I mean, the fact that they're still lying about saying the DNC was hacked by the Russians and the Russians gave it to WikiLeaks, well, we had some of our people in our group, the VIPs, the veteran intelligence professionals, look at the data that WikiLeaks posted on the DNC data. They actually posted the DNC data. Now, that entire set of data was read to a thumb drive or a CD-ROM, then physically transported. Now, this is what Kim.com is saying, and this is what Julian Assange basically was inferring. Others have been saying the same things. Here is a video showing an interview. I believe that's Jordan Sheridan, and that's Bill Binney right there on the right. Bill Binney just saying what he said above. Now, it's clear the DNC was not hacked, and it's more than likely an insider like a Seth Rich who copied the files to a disk drive and turned them over to WikiLeaks. This is more likely than reports that the Russians hacked the DNC. Now we know why Google executives were crying when Donald Trump won the presidency. They were tied to the purveyors of the Russia collusion. CrowdStrike, directly involved, you guys. This is pretty stunning information. And what's even more stunning is that it's taken us so long to figure it out. It was always there on their website. So it looks like Google had a very vested interest in CrowdStrike and the success of CrowdStrike and in the success of their mission, which was to prove the Russia collusion hoax. And instead, they've done nothing but prove themselves to be liars and fakers on so many different occasions. All right, guys, that is all I have for you today. I want to thank everyone for joining me. Do not forget to tune in on Saturday, July 27th at 9 p.m. Eastern Time to see the debut of my good friend and fellow researcher Methods from Twitter. We're really looking forward to this show. Can't wait to have Methods on. I think it's been a long time coming, and I really am just, super excited about it. All right, as always, this has been Red Pill 78. I am the corruption detector, and this was your Red Pill News. Good luck, everyone, and God bless.